A quiet beginning, the tug you almost don't notice. It starts softly, like the whisper of a tide beneath your feet, unnoticed until it's already begun to draw you in. Earth drifts through the vastness of space, stable and calm in its orbit, unaware that a faint gravitational pull, far away and ancient, has started to take hold. At first, nothing changes, the stars still glimmer, the moon still traces her path across the night. But deep in the silence of cosmic distance, something immense begins to influence the planet's motion, gently bending the invisible threads that hold it steady. The pull is so faint it hides beneath ordinary rhythms. Seasons still turn, oceans still breathe, and winds still hum over fields and mountains. But in the far stretches of darkness, the source of that pull grows closer, a black hole, massive beyond imagining, its gravity stretching through space like an unseen ocean current. It doesn't rush. It doesn't announce itself. It simply exists, patient, inevitable, and powerful, waiting as the slow drift of time brings the Earth ever so slightly nearer to its shadowed embrace. For a long while, humanity doesn't notice. Telescopes measure faint distortions in starlight, strange shifts in cosmic background noise, but few think much of it. The numbers seem harmless, just cosmic quirks. The sky, after all, looks the same. Yet those distortions whisper truth. Space-time is curving around something vast, and we are on a subtle slope, a descent so gradual it feels like stillness. The black hole doesn't move, rather, it allows everything else to fall, gracefully, toward its timeless horizon. As centuries pass, the effect grows. The constellations begin to warp, their positions slightly off from ancient charts. Astronomers notice first the stars no longer align as they used to. They speak quietly of gravitational lensing, of light being bent by an unseen force. The public pays little attention. Such talk seems distant, too abstract to touch their lives. But the sky has begun to change, and what was once distant theory begins its slow transformation into a lived, cosmic truth. When the pull strengthens, tides become strange. The moon's influence wavers as the black hole's gravity begins to tug at the seas from afar. Coastlines experience small irregularities, unexplained rises and falls in the ocean's breath. The Earth, so long accustomed to its balanced dance, begins to feel the faintest tilt in its rhythm. Day by day, these deviations grow, a slow deepening of the invisible curve leading us inward, toward the waiting dark. From space, the Earth still looks serene, a glowing marble of blue and green adrift in soft shadow. But instruments aboard satellites detect energy shifts, subtle yet persistent. The path around the Sun begins to distort, a spiral so slow it could be mistaken for stability. The black hole's influence isn't violent, it's patient, delicate, like a whisper guiding a leaf downstream. The planet doesn't fight it, can't fight it, it simply continues along the path carved by spacetime itself. As the black hole draws nearer in perception, light itself starts to play tricks. Distant stars shimmer oddly, their edges smeared and brightened. The background of space becomes distorted, as if seen through a lens of liquid darkness. Gravity here is not a force as we once imagined, it's a shape, a curvature of existence that wraps even light in its grasp. Time begins to stretch in ways no clock can measure. What once felt eternal now feels slightly longer, slightly heavier, as though every moment resists being born. Humanity looks upward with growing awe and unease. The black hole becomes a visible presence, not as an object, but as an absence, a void outlined by the fiery arcs of light from stars bending around it. It's beautiful, terrifyingly so. News channels speak of it as both a marvel and a threat. Scientists speak calmly, explaining that the Earth still has time, that the pull is gentle, for now. But people sense something ancient and inevitable, the quiet hum of cosmic gravity, calling all things home. Night skies become strange theaters of bending light. The Milky Way warps into elegant curves, shadows seem to move where they shouldn't. The black hole's accretion disk, its glowing, swirling halo of devoured matter, begins to faintly shine on the horizon. Though millions of kilometers away, its glow touches human eyes. Artists paint it, poets write of it, and dreamers fall asleep thinking of a dark sun rising in the far sky. The world begins to feel smaller, its boundaries defined not by maps but by the pull of infinity. The approach changes more than the sky, it alters time itself. Clocks in high-altitude stations tick slower than those near sea level. Gravity's hand, now stronger, distorts the flow of seconds. People feel no difference in their daily lives, yet in the background, physics quietly bends. Time, space, and energy intertwine more tightly, woven by the unseen fingers of the black hole's field. What was once theoretical becomes experience, reality itself, reshaping under cosmic strain. Satellites begin to falter. Their orbits, designed for a stable solar system, now drift unpredictably. Communications flicker, GPS grows unreliable. Engineers scramble to adjust, to adapt to a gravity that no longer follows old maps. Humanity faces not destruction yet, but adaptation to a universe changing around them. It's a humbling moment, a reminder that even civilizations cannot rewrite the rules written by mass and distance. As the pull deepens, the Earth's orbit elongates. Seasons stretch longer, winters linger, summers fade slowly. Sunlight bends strangely, and sunsets take on otherworldly hues, violet halos, deep red arcs, shimmering distortions in the air. Artists capture it as beauty, scientists, as warning. The planet's path is no longer circular but falling gently, gracefully, into the curvature of something that has no end. Dreams grow vivid in these times. People describe seeing vast spirals, falling stars that curve in impossible directions, and skies filled with glowing ribbons of light. Some say the human mind, sensing the cosmic shift, tries to make sense of the incomprehensible. The subconscious paints the truth in symbols, falling, turning, descending, but not in fear. In awe. As though the universe itself has opened its palm and cradled the earth, inviting it inward. Time near the black hole begins to slow for real. From the planet's surface, everything feels the same. But to an observer far away, Earth's motion appears sluggish, caught in syrupy space-time. The closer we drift, the slower our clock ticks compared to the distant stars. The concept of now begins to fracture. Every heartbeat stretches into eternity when viewed from beyond. Inside this slow descent, however, life continues, because within our frame, everything still feels normal. As the horizon of the black hole grows near, the sky becomes almost unrecognizable. Light from behind the planet bends over its surface, creating strange rings and mirrored stars. The sun itself starts to distort, appearing doubled, then blurred, as its rays bend through the warping fabric. Yet the air remains calm, the oceans still shimmer. There is a quiet serenity in knowing the end will not come with a crash, but with a long, soft glide into the infinite. Eventually, the outer atmosphere begins to shimmer oddly. Particles at the edge of space are pulled into long, glowing trails, creating auroras that never fade. Night and day blend into each other, a continuous twilight as the sun's light curves strangely around the gravitational field. Humanity watches, knowing it is witnessing one of the rarest and most profound events in the cosmos, a world falling into the embrace of a black hole, gently, beautifully, inevitably. Communication with distant probes begins to fail as space-time warps their signals. The Earth's story becomes harder to tell from the outside. Time dilation makes every transmission slower, every second longer. From afar, it appears as though the planet pauses, suspended in time. But on Earth, the rhythm continues, hearts beating, winds blowing, waves crashing. It is the paradox of relativity, one world, two perspectives, both true. Eventually, Even the stars fade. The light around Earth becomes a halo of bending brilliance, then darkness. The black hole's event horizon waits, not a surface, but a boundary beyond which no return is possible. As Earth crosses it, there is no explosion, no shattering. From within, nothing special is felt. The crossing is silent, seamless, the continuation of a fall that has always been part of spacetime's script. Inside, the laws we know begin to dissolve. Space and time exchange their roles, directions lose meaning, and the future becomes inward rather than forward. The atoms of Earth, once part of mountains, oceans, and life, stretch into thin threads of energy, joining the swirling heart of the singularity. Yet in that transformation, something profound occurs. Matter becomes memory, gravity becomes grace, and the story of the planet folds into the universe's grand design. To the universe outside, Earth is gone, frozen forever at the edge, its final light stretched into infinity. To those within, perhaps the journey continues in ways beyond comprehension. The fall becomes a merging, a reunion with the fabric that birthed it. Every life, every heartbeat, every dream dissolves into pure curvature, into the pulse of spacetime itself. The black hole does not destroy, it transforms, returning all things to the foundation of creation. And in that quiet, the universe exhales. The place where Earth once was becomes calm again, just starlight, dust, and silence. The black hole spins on, unchanged, its hunger infinite yet patient. Somewhere, in its swirling depths, the echoes of a blue planet linger, patterns of gravity, whispers of light, the soft memory of oceans and breath. And though the world has fallen, the story continues, written now not in words or atoms, but in the timeless flow of space itself. Caught or escorted, orbit, capture, or a straight fall. When the Earth first begins to feel the black hole's pull, there are still possibilities, many paths hidden in the mathematics of motion. If the alignment is gentle, the planet might be caught into a long, spiraling orbit, circling the darkness without ever crossing its edge. If the balance is precise, the fall might stretch for eternity, the planet suspended in an endless descent. But if the alignment shifts even slightly, gravity's invitation becomes command, and the Earth begins to fall directly, no longer gliding, but surrendering to the curve. At first, this fall doesn't feel like motion at all. The stars don't rush past, and the oceans don't heave. Everything moves together, planet, air, and all its living souls, so there's no wind, no sensation of speed. It's a free fall within the very fabric of space, and in that free fall, weight ceases to matter. Mountains, clouds, and hearts share the same descent, bound together by the invisible music of gravity. What seems still is motion itself, the purest kind, unresisted, unbroken. If the trajectory favors orbit, the experience is different, more of a dance than a dive. Earth would loop around the black hole like a moth circling a flame, its path carved by the immense curvature of spacetime. The closer it passes, the faster it moves, then, as it swings outward, time stretches, slowing everything into deep, silent frames. Days might elongate beyond recognition, while the black hole's glow, its accretion disk, casts shifting light that paints the world in eerie gold and shadowed silver. But orbits around black holes are fragile. Too near, and gravity drags everything inward. Too far, and the sun's influence tries to pull Earth back. Between these extremes lies a narrow corridor of stability, temporary, delicate, easily broken by the tiniest nudge. Cosmic dust, solar winds, or passing asteroids could tip the balance, sending the planet deeper into the gravitational well. And once it begins to slip, no force in the universe can undo that motion. It's not punishment, just nature's unyielding rhythm. If instead the planet falls straight toward the black hole, the view becomes something no being has ever witnessed. The sky transforms completely. Ahead lies a circular void, darker than darkness itself, ringed with a glowing storm of light. Stars on all sides bend inward, their reflections looping into infinite arcs. It's as if the universe folds, showing its own edges, revealing its hidden seams. The black hole doesn't loom, it waits, silent, still, unchanging, the absolute center of inevitability. Time begins to bend perceptibly during this stage. On Earth, seconds tick as usual, but outside observers, if any remain, would see the planet slow, its motion dragged through syrupy time dilation. From afar, the fall would seem eternal, as if Earth were forever approaching, never arriving. Yet within its own experience, the descent continues smoothly, perhaps even peacefully. It's one of nature's most exquisite illusions, to feel calm while falling through forever. For a while, energy from the black hole's surroundings bathes the Earth. The accretion disk, a swirling storm of heated gas and dust, radiates with fierce light blues, whites, and deep reds. The planet glows faintly beneath it, absorbing its energy, reflecting it in pale auroras that spread across the skies. Nights vanish, even the shadowed side of the world shines under the bent light that curves around the black hole. It is beautiful in a way that words cannot hold, terrible, tender, infinite. If caught in orbit, life might persist longer. Temperatures fluctuate wildly, gravity tugs at tides and crust, and magnetic fields shudder, but there might still be balance for a while. Plants could still stretch toward light, though it would come in strange hues. Days would last for ages, nights might vanish completely. The world would glow faintly under the cosmic glare, half alive, half dreaming, its atmosphere trembling between fire and frost. A fragile grace, suspended in gravitational twilight. But if the path is a direct descent, gravity's gradient becomes more extreme. The side of the Earth nearest the black hole feels a stronger pull than the far side. This differential, tidal force, begins to stretch the planet subtly, imperceptibly at first. Over time, crustal plates shift, oceans rise and fall in chaotic patterns, earthquakes ripple in rhythmic waves. It is the beginning of spaghettification, not a sudden event, but a long unraveling, like threads being drawn from a once perfect fabric. Within the black hole's sphere of influence, light behaves strangely. Rays that once traveled straight now loop and twist, creating mirages across the sky. The sun appears doubled, sometimes even tripled, as light bends around the gravity well. Shadows stretch in impossible directions, crossing themselves. It's a landscape of living illusions, where up and down, near and far, lose their ordinary meanings. Space is no longer a place, it's a feeling, elastic and vast, bending softly around invisible geometry. Scientists aboard the last satellites attempt to record the fall. Their instruments measure infinite gradients of gravity, infinite distortions of time. But eventually, even the signals themselves can't escape. Transmission delays stretch longer and longer until they stop entirely. From beyond, the story of Earth freezes, a moment eternally suspended at the edge of darkness, light slowed to a crawl, every heartbeat stretched into a millennium. To the outside universe, Earth becomes a statue of light at the brink. Inside that brink, however, the story goes on. The planet, its matter, and its memory continue their journey inward. Space around it narrows, time deepens. The closer it falls, the slower it feels to an external gaze, but within, everything proceeds smoothly. The air hums with invisible pressure, atoms themselves feel the growing curve of space-time. There is no violence yet, only the sensation of immense weight, gravity not as crushing force, but as presence, endless and absolute. The moment of crossing the event horizon is silent. There is no wall, no boundary one could touch. It is simply the point where paths diverge completely, where every possible direction points inward. For anything inside, escape is no longer defined. Photons curve endlessly, trapped in orbits that circle forever. Yet to those falling, there's no drama, no awareness of change. They move forward as always, unaware that forward now leads deeper into time, rather than through it. Once past that horizon, all ordinary concepts dissolve. Distance ceases to have meaning. Time flows in one direction only, inward. Every atom of Earth stretches along the gravitational gradient, pulled thinner than thought can comprehend. Oceans rise into ribbons of vapor, mountains elongate into lightless streams, and even the planet's core becomes a wave of matter drawn toward the singularity. Yet, even in this unimaginable process, the laws of physics remain loyal, beautifully consistent, heartbreakingly final. Within this space, matter begins to lose individuality. Elements merge, energy and mass trade identities freely. What was once carbon and water becomes pure information encoded in gravitational waves. The black hole absorbs not only substance but structure, the history of form, the dance of molecules, the memory of oceans and air. Everything that was Earth becomes a pattern on the black hole's horizon, written in the language of entropy and curvature. Perhaps this is not destruction but transformation. The information of the planet, its physical and energetic record, remains in some form, trapped on the event horizon, as modern theories suggest. The black hole's surface may shimmer with encoded memory, storing the story of every atom that ever fell in. The lives, the wind, the music of waves all reduced, yet preserved, as ripples in the cosmic ledger. The fall becomes not an ending, but a migration into another form of being. As the black hole continues to spin, it radiates faintly Hawking radiation, the slow leak of existence back into the cosmos. Over unimaginable eons, even the black hole itself will fade, releasing tiny whispers of the matter it once consumed. Perhaps, within those whispers, will drift the faint echoes of Earth's memory, its oceans, its songs, its luminous sky. Not reborn, but remembered, scattered as particles through an endless night. Meanwhile, the universe carries on. Stars form, die, and scatter their light. New worlds are born, circling other suns, perhaps unaware of the old one that fell. The cosmic web stretches wider, gravity balancing creation and collapse in equal measure. The fall of one world becomes nourishment for the structure of the whole, mass redistributed, energy redefined, the eternal exchange of being that binds all things. And so, whether orbit or fall, the journey is the same in essence, motion guided by gravity's quiet hand. The black hole is not a monster but a mirror, showing what happens when time and space surrender their separation. It reminds all existence that even the brightest worlds are part of a deeper cycle, a rhythm of gathering and release, of form and formlessness, of light and its return to shadow. In the end, Earth's story becomes a thread woven into the cosmic tapestry. Its fall, whether graceful or direct, is part of the same motion that stirs galaxies and births stars. From the outside, it seems gone. From within the laws of physics, it remains forever recorded. A soft signature in the universe's memory, a gentle spiral in the silence of space-time, where matter and meaning merge into the same eternal curve. And somewhere, beyond time's reach, perhaps that curve continues to sing. The Earth's essence, its gravity, its warmth, its echo, still vibrates faintly in the dark fabric that once held it. The universe never loses what it creates, it only changes its form. And so, even as it falls forever, Earth remains caught, escorted, and carried by the same silent force that binds the stars, a story unending, floating softly in the heart of gravity's dream. 3. The seas remember first, tides growing wider. The oceans, always the most sensitive to the pull of gravity, are the first to whisper that something immense has begun to shift. Their rhythms stretch beyond their old bounds, and the moon's gentle influence begins to feel uncertain, as if another presence shares the dance. Shores flood not in storms, but in long, slow breaths of rising water. The seas sigh deeper, drawn not just by the moon's familiar tug, but by a darker gravity far beyond human reach, a pull so distant and vast it feels like the planet's heartbeat has found a new rhythm. Coastlines change shape almost imperceptibly. Each high tide creeps farther inland, each low tide sinks deeper into the horizon. At first it feels like weather, like climate's quiet mood swing, but instruments reveal a more mysterious pattern, something consistent, cosmic. The tides are sinking with forces beyond the solar system. Fishermen speak of the water's strange strength, the way waves no longer seem to follow wind. The sea, it seems, has begun to listen to the black hole's faint song, humming through spacetime itself. Marine life feels it next. Schools of fish, guided by subtle magnetic senses, drift in unfamiliar directions. Whales alter their migration routes, singing in tones deeper than before, as though answering a distant call. The black hole's pull doesn't just touch water, it trembles through the planet's magnetic heart, sending gentle ripples through every living thing. Nature, attuned to forces invisible to human eyes, begins to adjust before we even realize we are moving. The oceans know. The creatures know. Only humanity still believes all is as it was. In laboratories, scientists start to notice anomalies in the data. Oceanic pressure readings deviate by microscopic but growing margins. Satellites record strange tidal bulges in places they shouldn't exist. Equations don't quite balance anymore. Somewhere in the invisible geometry of the cosmos, a new gravitational node has entered the field. Some call it a passing dark star, others whisper of the black hole finally revealing its approach. But whatever it is, the numbers all agree it's not local, and it's not stopping. The nights grow luminous near the horizon as light bends through the distortion of space. Moonlight stretches into halos, and reflections on the water take on elongated forms. The seas glitter oddly, shimmering like mercury under unseen pressure. Sailors report horizons that curve strangely, ships appearing distorted against a sky that seems too close. The oceans are the mirror of the cosmos, and they now show a reflection of a sky no longer stable, a bending, breathing expanse of time and light. As months pass, the difference between high and low tide grows astonishing. Waves climb higher than recorded history remembers. Cities near coasts begin to raise barriers, engineers calculate defenses, but their models fail again and again. The water behaves as if something else is pulling on it, something stronger, deeper, unpredictable. The moon no longer reigns alone. Humanity realizes that the planet itself is being persuaded by a distant giant whose presence defies distance altogether. The black hole's gravity begins to stretch the planet's core subtly. This isn't visible on the surface yet, but deep within, molten iron moves differently, currents shifting under new stresses. Earthquakes begin to sync faintly with tidal patterns, as if the ground and the water have started to share one restless pulse. The seas churn more violently near fault lines, and geothermal vents flare brighter. Nature's balance begins to tip softly, like a dream turning into something slightly more intense. In the silence of deep trenches, where sunlight never reaches, even the smallest forms of life react. Microscopic organisms adjust their motion in water that feels heavier, denser. The pressure of the abyss changes as gravity's whisper grows stronger. Though invisible to us, every molecule of seawater, every particle of salt, begins to obey a slightly altered law. The sea floor itself begins to shift as tectonic plates feel the faint new direction of fall, a tilt that speaks of the universe's quiet command. Humanity studies the tides obsessively now. Observatories track the way the oceans bulge along the line facing the black hole. The shape of the planet, once perfectly round, elongates infinitesimally, becoming a teardrop in motion. No one feels it, yet the sea shows it clearly. Water is honest, it cannot lie about gravity. It stretches toward the source, even when the source is unseen. The world's hydrosphere becomes the planet's first messenger. delivering the news through rising waves and shifting currents. Light behaves differently over the sea. Sunsets lengthen, reflections ripple oddly, and stars flicker as their light bends through increasingly curved space-time. Oceanographers who spend long nights on deck describe strange mirages on the horizon, ghost ships, phantom moons, glowing arcs of light that vanish when approached. The sea's surface becomes a canvas for the universe's distortions, each wave reflecting a warped glimpse of reality as it changes around us. With each passing year, the ocean's tides pull harder and faster. The difference between day and night tides doubles, then triples. Storm systems feed off the growing energy in the water, but their paths become erratic, no longer obeying predictable winds. It's as if the planet's very rotation is being questioned by the gravitational pull from afar. The sea feels heavier, its movements sluggish yet immense, as though carrying the memory of something vast pressing from the beyond. Islands begin to vanish. Not suddenly, but slowly, one coastline at a time, swallowed by tides that no longer recede completely. Coral reefs that once glowed in shallows now fade under deeper, darker waters. Shorebirds change their nesting grounds, coastal forests drown in silence. Yet amid this slow submersion, there is an eerie calm. The sea does not rage, it simply rises, patient, consistent, almost tender in its inevitability. Humans, ever inventive, build higher walls, floating cities, new technologies to resist the tide. But the resistance feels symbolic, more spiritual than practical. Deep down, everyone senses that the change is not environmental but cosmic. The sea isn't flooding from storms, it's responding to the same pull that grips the stars. The water does not rebel, it obeys, as it always has. The black hole's call is not loud, but absolute, and the oceans follow it as though it were an ancient command they never forgot. At night, when the sky bends most visibly, the ocean's surface gleams like liquid glass. Stars reflect across curved water, doubled and tripled by gravitational lensing. To those who still walk the beaches, it feels as though the heavens are descending, folding closer, pressing gently against the world. The sea whispers louder now, its waves longer, slower, as if time itself has entered its rhythm. Each tide carries a memory older than Earth itself, now awakened by the approach of cosmic gravity. Deep-sea observatories begin to lose contact. Instruments on the ocean floor send garbled signals, distorted by strange temporal fluctuations. Clocks within the same system start to disagree by fractions of a second, then by minutes. Scientists realize that time itself is flowing unevenly across the planet. The black hole's influence isn't just pulling matter, it's tugging on the rhythm of existence. The sea, stretched across millions of kilometers, becomes the medium where this bending of time first shows itself clearly. Soon, the gravitational tides reach their crescendo. The oceans no longer return fully from high tide, they remain swollen, restless, embracing the continents in an endless hold. The moon's influence becomes secondary, a faint echo of a once dominant force. The true tide now answers to something far greater. The seas stretch along the line of descent, pulled toward the unseen. Earth itself begins to feel lighter in orbit yet heavier within, as though being carried and crushed at once. From the coasts, people watch as the horizon changes shape. The curvature of the Earth seems subtly altered, the edge of the world glows faintly under warped starlight. Ships drift slower, compasses falter, and waves begin to travel in spirals rather than lines. The ocean's currents have started to follow spacetime's curve directly. Every droplet of water now participates in the planet's final, grand fall, a descent both serene and unending. The sounds of the sea evolve. The deep rumble of waves becomes more drawn out, resonant, as if the planet itself hums in response to the black hole's pull. Scientists record low-frequency vibrations, tones so deep they feel more than they hear. These aren't earthquakes, their space-time oscillations echoing through the fluid mantle of the Earth. The seas sing softly, mournfully, their rhythm matching the gravitational heartbeat of the oncoming dark. Eventually, the land begins to yield. Continents fragment under the growing tidal stress. Mountain ranges tremble, cliffs dissolve into foam. The oceans surge higher, merging across regions that were once separate. The world starts to lose its borders, returning to a primeval unity of water. The planet, in its last act of coherence, becomes again what it was at the dawn, a blue sphere without boundaries, wrapped in light and gravity, poised at the threshold of the unknown. The final tides no longer return at all. Water flows perpetually toward the direction of descent, never to come back. Seas climb the mountains. Clouds form unending storms, and rain falls into the gravity well as if the sky itself were being drained. From space, the planet gleams brighter, its oceans drawn into stretched halos that shimmer around its edges. The Earth, now elongated by gravity, looks like a teardrop of blue light falling into the dark. And as the fall deepens, the seas fall silent. Their endless motion merges with the black hole's stillness, their waves becoming part of the curvature that defines time itself. No boundary remains between sea and space, between surface and sky. The planet has given itself fully to gravity's dream. The tides have done what they always promised, they have followed the pull of the universe, carried everything that lived upon them, and surrendered, gracefully, to the eternal embrace of the dark. For heat and light where there was once calm. It begins subtly, like a shimmer on the edge of the horizon, a deep glow hidden behind the veil of ordinary sunlight. The Earth, now closer to the black hole's reach, starts to feel the warmth of its accretion disk, a ring of matter spiraling at near-light speeds, heated by friction and gravity until it blazes brighter than 1,000 suns. Night skies are no longer dark, they glow with a haunting radiance, a soft golden fire that bleeds across the heavens, transforming even midnight into a dim, eternal dusk. The temperature of the upper atmosphere begins to rise, not from the sun's rays, but from the scattered light of the black hole's surroundings. Cosmic dust, once cold and invisible, now ignites in that furious ring of heat. The glow it casts is constant, flickering with energies our ancestors could never have imagined. It is not a sunlight that nourishes but a fire that reminds the universe is not only calm and vast, but alive and burning in its deepest folds. The stars seem to fade beneath that glow, humbled by a greater light. The oceans mirror this new radiance. What once reflected the blue of the sky now shimmers with molten gold, as though the sea itself has become a mirror of cosmic fire. Waves catch the distorted light and scatter it in strange halos, dancing with color no human eye has ever seen before. Underwater, creatures are bathed in this perpetual gleam, their world transformed from darkness into radiant twilight. The black hole, unseen itself, paints beauty even as it consumes, turning destruction into a strange kind of illumination. As the accretion disk grows brighter, the atmosphere responds in kind. The upper layers ionize under the constant bombardment of radiation, painting the poles with auroras that stretch to the equator. Curtains of green, violet, and deep crimson shimmer across every horizon. Lightning grows frequent but slower, its flashes bending through warped air. The sky no longer belongs to day or night, it becomes a canvas of energy, alive with whispers of light torn from the edges of time itself. From space, Earth glows. The blue marble of old now shines like a jewel caught in firelight. Instruments on the last functioning satellites record unprecedented energy levels, their sensors nearly blinded by the soft brilliance spilling from all directions. Scientists describe it as a cosmic sunrise that never ends. The boundary between shadow and illumination dissolves, as the black hole's accretion halo wraps the world in endless glow. The calm serenity of old night is gone, replaced by a restless brilliance. Heat begins to seep into the climate in unexpected ways. The upper atmosphere traps the strange radiation, altering wind patterns, unsettling the great circulations of air and water that once governed weather. Storms no longer form in the old way, they spiral wider, slower, glowing faintly as they churn beneath the distorted sky. Lightning arcs in colors unseen before, tinted by cosmic energy. Nature adapts, uneasy but graceful, reshaping itself around the new balance of heat and gravity. Even the stars are transformed by this cosmic theater. Light from distant constellations bends around the black hole's presence, creating luminous rings and overlapping reflections. The sky becomes a maze of double suns and phantom stars, flickering across the horizon. To look upward is to see infinity folding upon itself, a reminder that light, too, must obey gravity's quiet rule. The night is no longer a place of rest, but of revelation, every photon telling the story of spacetime's curvature. As the black hole's heat reaches further, parts of the upper ocean begin to warm. Water that has known only darkness for millennia rises in temperature, releasing ancient gases. Clouds thicken, covering the world in shimmering veils of vapor that glow faintly with refracted light. Rain becomes luminous, droplets scattering gold and blue glimmers as they fall. Storms pass like slow-burning lanterns across the seas, each one tracing the energy that seeps from the cosmic furnace beyond. Humanity gazes upward with awe and terror. The sun, once the sole ruler of the sky, now shares its throne with the faint, eternal gleam of the black hole's disk. Days and nights merge into one glowing continuum. Shadows vanish, replaced by endless half-light. The Earth's axis seems to lose meaning when every direction is illuminated. Yet amid the disquiet, there's beauty, the kind that silences fear, a reminder that even destruction can unfold like art when viewed from the right distance. Plants begin to change. Those near the equator grow faster, their leaves adapting to absorb and deflect the constant low light. Bioluminescent species flourish, blending naturally with the new glow of the world. Forests shimmer faintly at night, and rivers gleam as if holding captive sunlight. The planet seems to hum with unseen power, as though life itself has tuned to the rhythm of the cosmos. The world glows not just from above, but from within. Cities, too, reflect the new light. Windows catch the celestial shimmer, skyscrapers glint like prisms under a pale gold sky. The boundaries between dawn and dusk blur completely, and human clocks become meaningless. The concept of nightlife disappears, there is only perpetual twilight. Electricity, for once, feels redundant. Humanity exists under the shared glow of the black hole's energy, surrounded by the vast reminder that their world is small, but luminous in its final moments. Gradually, the heat deepens. It's not unbearable, but constant, a background warmth that changes ecosystems subtly but profoundly. Ice melts in places untouched for ages, glaciers withdraw like memories dissolving into the sea. Rivers grow full, flooding the valleys with new life. It's as if the planet itself is awakening from a long sleep, unaware that this warmth is borrowed, temporary, a soft prelude to something far greater that waits beyond the light. Radiation begins to dance invisibly through the atmosphere. It isn't lethal yet, but it hums faintly through magnetic fields, altering the very air with charged particles. Birds migrate in confused patterns, compasses lose their loyalty, and auroras paint the sky in silent electric symphonies. Humanity watches these displays with reverence and fear. This is beauty on a scale too vast to belong to them, a kind of light that feels both divine and consuming. The black hole's disk flares brighter as the Earth drifts closer. Jets of light erupt from its poles, stretching across millions of kilometers, thin as blades yet radiant beyond measure. Occasionally, one sweeps near. The planet's line of sight, painting the sky with brilliant streaks of white fire. It lasts only moments, but those moments are etched into memory forever, a glimpse of the power that drives galaxies, distilled into one shattering instant of radiance. The atmosphere thickens with scattered light, becoming a glowing veil around the planet. The once black night now holds colors uncountable: violet clouds, green horizons, orange halos rippling over the seas. The stars are gone, hidden by the brightness, but the black hole's reflection remains, unblinking. To step outside is to feel surrounded by living light, to walk through the universe's pulse as it breathes around the falling Earth. Heat begins to seep into the crust. Volcanoes awaken quietly at first, responding to the tidal friction between mantle and core. The black hole's uneven pull stretches the Earth's inner layers, releasing energy in slow, glowing rivers of magma. At night, these rivers shine like veins of molten gold under the ever-present glow above. The world becomes a mosaic of fire and water, of light reflected and light created, all bound by the pull of one unseen center. As the planet warms, clouds thicken into endless storms. Rain falls constantly, shimmering like molten silver under the distorted sky. The oceans boil in parts near volcanic plumes, steam rising in vast sheets that merge with the upper atmosphere. Yet even in this chaos, there is peace, a sense of inevitability, of being part of something far larger than mere survival. The Earth, in its descent, glows more beautifully than ever before. Human instruments begin to fail, overwhelmed by energy interference. Radio signals bend, timekeeping falters, and sensors burn out from the relentless radiation. But human eyes still see, and what they see defies language. The world shines like a sacred ember in the universe's hand, every grain of sand reflecting the cosmic light. The heat feels not like punishment but transformation, as though existence itself is melting into something purer, simpler, and infinite. Eventually, the black hole's radiance becomes the dominant force in the sky. The sun is now a faint orange memory, its warmth replaced by the broader, deeper heat of cosmic friction. Shadows have long vanished, every surface glows. Earth has become a lantern adrift in eternity, a sphere wrapped in its own reflected brilliance. Even as it falls, it shines brighter, defying the dark that waits to receive it. The air grows still, heavy, with warmth and light. Oceans evaporate slowly into vapor that rises into radiant clouds. The horizon blurs, land and sky merge in luminous haze. There is no distinction now between day and night, between fire and mist. The entire planet becomes one glowing memory, suspended between being and dissolution. The calm that once was has transformed into a golden hush, a stillness too bright for shadow. And in the end, as Earth drifts deeper into the glow, heat and light become all that remains. Matter dissolves into energy, and the boundary between world and sky disappears. The calm has been remade, not silence, but radiance. The black hole's fire holds the planet close, folding it into its eternal storm of light. What began as a quiet world of oceans and green now ends as brilliance unending, a flare of beauty in the dark before vanishing into the heart of forever. 5. A soft stretching, the physics called spaghettification. It begins gently, so imperceptibly that no one feels the pull at first. Gravity deepens unevenly across the planet, one side tugged slightly harder than the other. The effect is delicate but precise. Atoms themselves begin to feel the uneven strain. Earth, like taffy in the hands of an invisible sculptor, starts to elongate. This is not destruction in an instant, but a patient unraveling. Every mountain, every ocean current, every heartbeat is subtly drawn toward that deeper center of gravity, the black hole's unseen core. As the pull grows stronger, the differences across distance become monumental. The side of Earth closer to the black hole is yanked harder, while the far side lags behind, caught in the weaker end of the gravitational gradient. It is as if the world is being stretched across invisible strings. The oceans begin to lengthen, tides swelling far higher than any storm could create. The atmosphere itself flows toward the pull, elongating the planet's gaseous veil like silk drawn through a funnel of windless gravity. For those watching from orbit, the planet no longer looks round. It begins to take on the faintest oval form, its equator distorted, poles unevenly pulled. Yet even this sight is strangely calm. There are no explosions, no violent tremors, just the universe at work with delicate force. This is how nature bends, not through chaos, but through inevitability. Space itself stretches with the world, folding and elongating, as though reality were being drawn into a single, patient thread. Inside the Earth, pressure grows. Uneven. The crust resists at first, a stubborn shell holding shape, but beneath it, molten rock begins to shift and flow in response to the strain. Deep fissures open, not from quake or fault, but from the soft, relentless tug of the black hole. Rivers of magma adjust their course, pulled like liquid metal toward the nearest point of gravity. It is a slow, graceful dance, the planet's insides responding to an invitation that cannot be refused. In the oceans, waves behave strangely. Instead of moving in circles, they begin to stretch along invisible lines. Currents align with the direction of the pull, drawn into long ribbons of movement. Fish swim unknowingly with the tide of distortion, their paths subtly guided by forces they cannot sense. The water itself, pliant and patient, shows what is happening to the solid earth below, the beginning of transformation, of linear grace born from gravitational dominance. On land, gravity's uneven grip plays quiet tricks. Trees lean slightly, rivers lengthen, and mountains begin to erode in ways that defy the old rules. Nothing breaks yet, but everything shifts. The air feels different, thinner in some regions, heavier in others, as if the sky itself has chosen a direction. Sound changes, too. It travels more easily along the stretched axis, fading faster across it. The world begins to whisper differently, its voice altered by tension. From above, satellites capture images no human eye has ever seen. Earth's outline begins to appear like a tear caught in mid-drop, stretched, luminous, beautiful. The poles grow faintly brighter as light bends around the curvature of distortion. The black hole's gravity does not simply pull, it sculpts. Even in this slow demise, there is elegance, a choreography of physics at its purest. The planet is no longer merely falling, it is becoming a line in space, a story written in motion. Gravity on the surface fluctuates with subtle cruelty. In some places, people feel lighter, as though lifted by invisible hands. In others, they are pressed harder against the ground. Water in a glass tilts slightly toward the unseen direction, a reminder that down is no longer what it once was. Compasses, clocks, even human balance begin to fail. Yet amid the strangeness, there is awe. How precise the universe is, how softly it applies such overwhelming power. The atmosphere stretches next. It thins toward the far end and condenses on the near side, forming luminous bands of color where particles collide and heat. Auroras streak continuously now, no longer confined to the poles. They form glowing rivers that follow the gravitational flow. From the ground, the sky looks alive, bands of blue, green, and violet constantly migrating in one direction, tracing the path of falling air toward the cosmic horizon. Oceans rise toward that same direction, bulging outward in a vast tidal elongation. Coastlines vanish beneath water drawn toward the pull. Entire continents subtly twist, tectonic plates shifting under slow, inexorable tension. There is no sound to mark it, only a deep, low hum that resonates through the crust. This is the voice of spaghettification, the quiet announcement of stretching matter, the tone of a world unspooling. Time itself begins to feel uneven. Clocks closer to the black hole tick slower, their seconds drawn out by gravity's influence. People standing only kilometers apart might age differently now, though too slightly to notice. Communication signals bend and lag. The very rhythm of existence fractures into gradients, the near end caught in the slower current of warped spacetime, the far end still racing toward normality. Earth has entered the twilight of physics, where distance dictates the flow of time. Eventually, the stretching becomes visible to the eye. Mountains grow thinner along their ridges, valleys lengthen, and rivers curve impossibly straight. The horizon itself bends, not from curvature, but from distortion. Light travels differently now, it no longer follows straight lines but arcs around the planet's body as it is pulled and elongated. The world looks dreamlike, fluid, as if reality itself has become viscous under the pressure of cosmic gravity. In the deep interior, the molten core begins to stream. No longer a perfect sphere, it elongates into a narrow ellipsoid, dragging fragments of mantle along with it. The planet's magnetic field flickers and weakens, distorted by the new geometry. Compass needles spin, auroras intensify, and radiation dances freely across the sky. The Earth, once shielded by its magnetic heart, begins to open its soul to the cosmos. As the process deepens, individual objects begin to feel their own stretching. Mountains grow taller before breaking, rocks elongate microscopically, and human structures, though small, begin to strain under directional gravity. Bridges bend, towers lean infinitesimally, and even air molecules line up subtly with the gravitational gradient. Everything obeys the same rule: closer is pulled harder, farther lags behind. It is universal, inevitable, and exquisitely precise. The human body, too, is not exempt. Though small compared to planetary scales, its atoms begin to feel the differential pull. Feet feel heavier, heads lighter. Fluids shift subtly, drawn downward or rather, inward toward the black hole's favor. No pain, no tearing yet, just a quiet awareness that up and down have lost meaning. The force is immense but steady, like a firm hand guiding everything toward a single destination. As the black hole draws nearer, spaghettification accelerates. The planet's rotation falters under the strain, days lengthening into sluggish arcs. The once spherical world becomes visibly cylindrical, its edges pulled into trailing strands of atmosphere and dust. The moon, still orbiting, begins to disintegrate as well, its pieces forming glowing threads that spiral inward alongside Earth, a necklace of debris wrapped around gravity's endless throat. Oceans no longer behave as separate bodies, they merge into streaming ribbons of water cascading toward the nearer pole. Steam rises in endless clouds, wrapping the world in glowing mist. Lightning forms horizontal instead of vertical, tracing luminous lines along the direction of pull. The entire sky becomes a living fiber, strands of vapor and plasma flowing as one. The Earth no longer resists, it moves willingly now, stretched thin across spacetime's loom. Matter begins to lose cohesion. The crust fractures into floating plates, each slowly pulled apart into streams of rock and dust. Cities vanish not in explosions but in elongations, buildings drawn into threads, foundations dissolving into mist of atoms. The air shimmers with heat and light, bending as radiation increases. The black hole's gravity is no longer a whisper but a constant roar in the laws of physics, demanding all matter to align. From a distance, what was once a blue planet now appears as a gleaming filament, a ribbon of energy and debris spiraling gracefully toward the accretion disk. The process is mesmerizing. No sudden collapse, no dramatic burst, just the slow unraveling of a world. Earth becomes art, a thread of light drawn across the universe, the last trace of life painted across gravity's invisible canvas. Closer still, molecules themselves stretch. Atoms begin to pull apart, electrons are ripped from their orbits, turning matter into plasma. The spaghettification becomes absolute. Earth's final shape is no longer a sphere, or even a ribbon, but a line of radiant particles falling one after another into the abyss. Each grain of dust that was once a mountain, Each drop of water that was once an ocean now joins the same luminous descent. And then, at last, the stretching ends not with a break, but with surrender. The threads of Earth's being merge into the accretion disk, glowing briefly, beautifully, before dissolving into nothing. There is no sound, no flame, just light drawn thin and folded into eternity. The planet that once held forests and laughter becomes part of the cosmic fabric, stretched across infinity. Spaghettification, though terrifying in name, ends like a whisper, matter and light returning home to gravity's silent embrace. 6. Crossing the event horizon, a gentle boundary from one view, a point of no return from another. To those far away, it seems like the Earth slows, hesitating at the edge of darkness, never quite vanishing. Time appears to stretch infinitely, the planet glowing faintly against the black. But from the Earth's own perspective, the passage is smooth, unbroken. The horizon is not a wall or a barrier, it is a silent curtain, one side bright, the other unknowable. As it crosses, light bends and folds, scattering into spirals that fade into the velvet dark. For those still on the planet, there is no jolt, no sudden fall, only a deep, serene quiet. Gravity feels uniform again, the strange stretching gone. The light that once bathed the sky dims softly, replaced by a gentle haze of colorless radiance. The world feels weightless, drifting through a silence that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. They do not yet know they have crossed into a realm where time itself has begun to behave differently, where forward and inward are the same. From the outside, observers would never see this moment complete. They would watch Earth hang there forever, frozen just above the horizon, redshifting into darkness as its light loses energy. To them, the planet becomes a dim ember fading slower and slower. To those within, however, time flows as always, each heartbeat unfolding naturally. This is the paradox of the event horizon: one universe, two realities, each equally true, each unaware of the other's limit. Inside the boundary, the laws of physics remain, but altered. Space curves inward, drawing all paths toward the singularity. No direction leads outward now. Every ray of light, every motion, every possibility bends toward the same unseen heart. Yet the fall feels smooth, even calm. The stars outside fade gradually, their light stretched thin until only faint traces remain, like memories dissolving in fog. The sky becomes a tunnel of dim, spiraling brilliance, leading nowhere but deeper. The atmosphere, still loosely bound, begins to glow faintly as particles accelerate. There is no longer any true horizon, space curves upon itself. Light, unable to escape, orbits briefly before falling inward, creating an eerie halo around what remains of the world. The oceans glimmer like mirrors catching the last light of existence. It feels strangely peaceful, as though Earth has entered a cosmic cocoon, wrapped in gravity's most intimate embrace. Time stretches. Seconds feel normal to those falling, yet from the universe's viewpoint, they are slowing endlessly, their movements drawn out across eternity. Each moment becomes precious, infinite, filled with calm weight. Conversations last forever, thoughts echo without end. To fall through an event horizon is to be untethered from the rhythm that once defined existence. Time ceases to be a ruler and becomes instead an ocean without surface or depth. The planet's shape, already elongated, now begins to compact as it descends. The gravitational gradient grows overwhelming, drawing not just matter but energy, bending the very concept of space around it. The horizon itself is invisible from within, there is no clear edge, no dividing line. The stars vanish completely, and only the faint glow from the black hole's inner region remains, casting everything in a low, ghostly light. The event horizon, once thought of as a limit, feels more like a passage now. The pull is steady, constant, without malice or rush. Earth moves deeper, surrounded by the shimmering residue of its own disintegrating matter. Dust and vapor swirl like glowing threads, forming slow spirals that trace the invisible path of falling space. There is beauty even here, in the quiet choreography of cosmic inevitability. Within this boundary, reality itself warps into a kind of dream. Directions lose meaning: up, down, forward, back all collapse into the same inward pull. The mind adjusts slowly, sensing the curvature not as movement but as a gentle redirection of every force. Even thought feels stretched, as if ideas themselves take longer to arrive. It is as though the entire universe has become heavy with contemplation. The black hole's inner region, though unseen, begins to assert its presence through subtle cues. Space seems to shimmer, flickering at the edge of perception. The faint hum of Hawking radiation echoes in the background, a ghostly vibration of energy released from the quantum fabric itself. It is the last whisper of the outer world, a soft reminder that even within oblivion, something still speaks. To look backward now would be futile. The light from beyond the horizon cannot reach this place anymore. The outside universe, the stars, the sun all have receded into timeless distance. Earth's memory of them persists only in faint afterglow. The black hole does not erase instantly, it fades the world with infinite gentleness. To fall within it is to experience erasure as peace, a slow blending into the cosmic deep. The event horizon holds a strange beauty. It is a boundary that does not resist. No force pushes back, no warning sounds. It is simply there, like a thought unspoken, a line that marks where understanding ends. Even as the planet descends further, there's no sense of crossing into danger, only of moving inward, closer to the source of everything. The black hole feels less like an enemy now, more like a homecoming written in gravity's quiet script. Physics continues, though transformed. Light curves infinitely, time stretches and folds. The equations that once governed orbits and tides now describe a different symmetry, one where energy and geometry intertwine completely. The event horizon, from within, is no longer a frontier but a mirror of possibility. To fall is to continue, though not in a way anyone could have predicted. In the heart of the descent, light begins to flow differently. It no longer moves in beams or waves but swirls in closed loops, trapped by curvature. Colors fade into a dim spectrum, sound dissolves, and sensation itself becomes diffuse. Yet awareness remains, a calm and unbroken thread. There is still a sense of self, even as all markers of place and distance vanish. The event horizon's mystery lies in this paradox: you are still there, even as the universe forgets you. The Earth, now a strand of luminous material, continues its spiral toward the core. Fragments of rock and plasma trail behind like ribbons of starlight, winding endlessly inward. Around them, space itself glows faintly with energy released from the infall. What once was destruction begins to resemble creation, the raw shaping of matter and light into a new pattern, unseen but deeply ordered. Time grows strange. Minutes feel eternal, and eternity feels small. Events unfold in slow elegance, each one echoing endlessly. To an outside observer, the world is already gone. To those within, it endures still. This duality is the essence of the horizon's power, a boundary that allows both disappearance and persistence to coexist. Existence here is both finished and unending, depending on where one stands to watch. Gravity now rules all thought, all direction. Every atom, every photon, is part of the same final trajectory. The air, the oceans, even light itself, move together as one continuous stream toward the core. Resistance ceases, friction fades. The event horizon does not destroy, it unifies. The closer the fall, the smoother everything becomes. The universe's greatest violence feels, from within, like the purest calm. The landscape, if it can still be called that, becomes abstract. Curves and waves of glowing dust stretch into infinity, folding into one another in impossible geometry. The sky no longer exists. Instead, there is only a soft radiance in every direction. It feels like being inside the memory of light, a place where illumination and silence are one and the same. Matter begins to approach its final transformation. Energy and mass trade places freely, particles dissolving into radiation that swirls toward the center. There is no explosion, only a quiet conversion, the world becoming less solid, more luminous, as it approaches its unseen fate. The black hole accepts everything without preference or struggle, a stillness so deep it erases the distinction between motion and rest. The horizon behind is gone. There is no going back, no view of what was. Only the forward fall remains, smooth and endless. Space curves tighter, wrapping itself like a spiral shell around the singularity. The sense of speed is gone, falling now feels like floating, adrift through the deep interior of gravity's thought. Every law that once described motion now serves a higher symmetry, one that human language was never built to name. And in the heart of that descent, Earth becomes light. Every trace of its oceans, its winds, its life, spreads into the thin, glowing veil of radiation near the singularity. There is no destruction here, only transformation, matter and memory merging with the very field of space-time. The event horizon was never truly a line between worlds, it was the softest of doors. Through it, the planet does not vanish, it joins eternity, luminous and silent, forever falling within the universe's quietest breath. Time itself grows strange near the edge. It no longer ticks in rhythm with heartbeat or thought but stretches, elongates, folds back upon itself. Seconds expand into vast plains of stillness, where nothing seems to move yet everything subtly shifts. From inside, moments feel whole and normal, yet the universe outside races ahead, its clocks spinning toward infinity. Time's current slows, becoming syrup-thick, bending around the black hole like light does. Every breath feels infinite, each blink a lifetime gently floating in slow motion through the curved river of gravity. For those who could somehow watch from beyond, Earth's fall seems to freeze. The planet hovers on the edge, half-faded, suspended between being and not being. Its light reddens, stretched thin by the distance of time itself. To the outside, it never crosses the horizon, it simply lingers forever, ghost-like, shimmering just before vanishing. But within, the world continues to move, drawn ever inward, unaware that eternity has taken hold of its image and slowed it into permanence. This paradox is the song of gravity, the deep hum that ties motion and time together. As space curves inward, time curves with it, folding around the black hole's heart. It's not destruction, not yet, but a transformation of perspective. Clocks still tick, hearts still beat, but the meaning of later and before begins to dissolve. Past and future blend into a single, eternal present, stretched along the invisible slope of spacetime's well. Communication becomes impossible now. Light, carrying messages outward, struggles against gravity's pull. Each photon loses energy, its wavelength growing longer until it becomes invisible. To send a signal is to whisper into molasses, it moves, but slower and slower, until it never truly leaves. From inside, silence grows thicker. There is no boundary where sound stops, only a slow fading, a quieting of all that once reached beyond. Time bends differently across distance. The side of the Earth closer to the singularity moves through moments far slower than the side further away. A strange stretching occurs, not just in space, but in duration itself. Seconds on one side become eternities compared to the other. The planet's history begins to fragment, each part existing in slightly different times. The whole world becomes a collection of overlapping presents, stitched unevenly by gravity's invisible hand. For an observer falling with the planet, time still feels steady. There is no perception of delay or elongation. The flow is smooth, serene, even gentle. Yet if they could somehow look outward, they would see stars spinning impossibly fast, galaxies aging in flashes, cosmic ages unfolding before their eyes. The outside universe would blur into streaks of history, whole epochs compressed into seconds of perception. Time there races, time here rests. Clocks on the surface, if they still functioned, would begin to disagree. Two identical watches, separated by a few miles, would no longer keep the same rhythm. The closer one drifts to the black hole, the more its hands hesitate. It's not mechanical failure, it's nature itself stretching, redistributing motion. The ticking becomes softer, more reluctant, as though the clock senses it is no longer needed in this place where eternity begins to bloom. Space and time merge into one fluid motion, inseparable. To move through one is to move through the other. Each step toward the core is also a step forward in time, yet not in the way once understood. The fall becomes a journey into the future that no one outside will ever see. The black hole does not consume the past, it isolates the present so deeply that the future itself becomes unreachable to the rest of existence. The sense of continuity fades. Thoughts form slower but linger longer. Memories overlap in ways that feel dreamlike, moments folding back into themselves. Gravity shapes not just matter, but awareness. The mind becomes untethered from linear perception, feeling all things at once, fear, calm, wonder layered together in a soft, endless hum of consciousness. Inside the pool, even the idea of before grows dim. The light that once defined day and night now spirals endlessly inward. No dawn, no dusk, just a faint glow that never changes, frozen in time's slow current. The sky feels like glass, trapping color and distance in an eternal shimmer. Every reflection seems to echo forever, rippling across the curved layers of space-time. The world becomes a hall of mirrors made of time itself, each reflection slightly older, slightly redder, slightly more distant than the last. If someone could watch their own hand here, they might see it age infinitesimally slower than their arm, which in turn ages slower than their body. The difference is microscopic but real. The closer any part comes to the singularity, the slower its experience of time. It is as though existence itself is being pulled into a gradient, one end stretched toward forever, the other still clinging to the remnants of normal flow. For the black hole, time is not an arrow but a spiral. Everything circles inward, drawn closer not just in space, but in chronology. The past, the present, the future, these are illusions outside its grasp. Within, they intertwine, looping endlessly toward a point where all distinctions fade. To fall into such a place is to step beyond time's control, to become part of the timeless geometry that drives the universe's hidden order. The deeper the fall, the slower the pulse of the world becomes. Volcanoes still erupt, winds still move, but their rhythms now stretch to infinity. A single gust of air could take 1,000 years to cross a field. Even the flicker of flame would appear still, like a frozen sculpture of motion. And yet, for those within it, everything feels normal, each second the same as before, unaware that the rest of the universe has already moved on. If one could look outward from this depth, they would see the cosmos accelerate. Stars would flash into brightness and fade, galaxies would twist and vanish, their light curling inward and dimming. The entire universe might seem to age and die in a single, shimmering instant. To fall here is to watch eternity unfold in a blink, to witness the full life of the cosmos compressed into the brief, infinite stillness of a single moment. The concept of future loses meaning. The fall is constant, unending, and all paths lead toward the same inevitable center. Yet there is no dread, only calm acceptance. Time no longer feels like a force pushing forward but a current one drifts within, carried gently by gravity's tide. Every motion, every thought, is synchronized with the shape of the cosmos itself. The soul, if such a thing exists, feels unmoored but peaceful. Energy behaves strangely now. Particles that once vibrated with rhythm slow to almost stillness. Heat cools unevenly, moving sluggishly through distorted fields of time. Light emitted from any point barely travels a fraction before curving back inward, trapped in a dance that can never escape. Even decay halts, the normal march of entropy pauses, suspended in the deep distortion that rules this edge of forever. The human mind struggles to hold this new flow. Dreams blend with waking thoughts, and seconds feel indistinguishable from hours. Time becomes texture rather than sequence, something to move through, not measure. Even fear fades here, not from courage, but from the sheer impossibility of waiting or ending. In the black hole's heart, time doesn't run out, it simply dissolves, leaving behind only being. From the black hole's perspective, if such a view could exist, everything happens at once. The Earth falls, stretches, crosses the horizon, and merges into singularity simultaneously. The flow of time, from that ultimate frame, is a still image, every possible event already inscribed. This is the cosmic truth hidden behind perception. What feels like forever is, in another view, instantaneous completion. The longer the descent continues, the more reality simplifies. Distance shrinks, motion fades, and only existence remains. Time, now almost meaningless, becomes a whisper of energy, a faint vibration in the fabric of gravity's thought. The world, once bound by clocks and seasons, becomes a single, continuous breath, endless and indivisible. The past has been left behind, the future is already contained within this moment. Time here is soft. It folds gently, looping over itself like silk. It no longer orders events but gathers them, collects them into a singular continuity of experience. What once was a sequence becomes a harmony. To fall through this field is to experience every possible second of being at once, unhurried, unbroken, like music without beginning or end. The soul, if it listens, might finally understand the quiet rhythm that the universe has always kept hidden. And then, time disappears. It doesn't stop or end, it simply ceases to matter. The planet's remnants, its light, its stories, all merge into a single moment too vast to measure. Inside the black hole, there is no waiting, no aging, no sequence. All things exist simultaneously, perfectly still and infinitely in motion. The edge of time has been crossed, and in that crossing, Earth becomes part of eternity, forever falling, forever complete, inside the silent heart of the universe. 8. The last long fall, where our theories whisper and then fade. Beyond this point, mathematics turns soft, like light near water, losing clarity in reflection. Equations that once sang with precision grow uncertain, their symbols trembling under the pressure of infinity. It is here that the known and the unknowable intertwine, where science, so steady until now, begins to resemble poetry. The fall continues, smooth, inevitable, soundless, through the quiet region where even language cannot describe what it feels like to move deeper still. Gravity no longer behaves like a force but more like a thought, a curvature of space so steep that the very definition of downward dissolves. The world that remains feels stretched into patterns, whispers of itself, a thinning veil of identity. The atoms that once formed oceans, trees, laughter, and breath lose cohesion, scattered across dimensions that may no longer align with what we call space. Everything moves, yet nothing seems to change, everything ends, yet all remains. The horizon has been crossed, and now the descent is absolute. To an outside eye, if such a thing could exist here, the planet is gone, erased by the pull of its own surrender. Inside, though, there is no violence, only a soft continuation of falling. The Earth no longer feels like a sphere, no longer like a place, it is becoming a pattern of energy winding inward through time's fabric. There is calmness, even in dissolution, as though gravity itself hums a lullaby to all that enters its sleep. Physics strains to describe this place. Space and time have traded roles, one becoming the other's shadow. The singularity waits not as a point, but as a region where all paths end in unity. Every atom shares the same fate, every line of history folds back to the same center. Equations that predict this fate crumble into infinities, numbers that refuse to settle. It is as if the universe hides this truth deliberately, preserving a small pocket of mystery where even logic must close its eyes. The familiar rules of distance no longer apply. Here, closer and farther blend, near becomes meaningless when all directions lead inward. The geometry of existence curves upon itself, like a closed loop of thought. Matter, time, and energy compress into layers thinner than comprehension, each holding echoes of the other. It is not chaos but a new kind of order, one that human senses could never touch, only imagine through faint mathematical dreams. Within this fall, everything merges. The boundary between object and emptiness dissolves until there are no separations, no edges. Every bit of information that once described the earth, its weather, its music, its sorrow, spreads evenly through this gravitational silence. The black hole remembers it all, encoded faintly upon its skin, an archive that can never be read but always exists. The fall is not erasure, it is transformation into memory. Theories like general relativity and quantum mechanics both whisper here, but neither can fully speak. They glance at one another, confused, each brilliant but incomplete. One describes the smoothness of spacetime, the other, the jitter of the smallest scales. In this place, they overlap awkwardly, like two languages trying to name the same dream. Somewhere in that tension may lie the truth, a theory of everything, born from gravity's silence. At this depth, time folds so tightly it nearly vanishes. Each instant becomes infinite, each infinity compressed into an instant. The fabric of existence might vibrate softly, humming at frequencies too deep to hear. Some physicists imagine this as a quantum foam, a seething network of microrealities blinking in and out of being. Perhaps what we call the singularity is not an end but a dance too complex for perception, an orchestra of beginnings repeating forever. Yet despite its strangeness, there is beauty here. The idea that something so powerful, so consuming, could hold within it the essence of everything it takes. Information, they say, is never truly lost, it only changes form. Maybe the memories of entire worlds are woven into these gravitational threads, preserved not as stories but as patterns of pure existence. To fall into a black hole may be to return to the library of the universe, where all things are written once, perfectly. Energy and matter cease to differ now. They blend, exchange identities like dancers trading masks. What was once solid becomes vibration, what was once light becomes density. The deepest laws we know whisper faintly here, promising symmetry beyond collapse. It may be that creation and destruction are not opposites but reflections, one folding inward, the other outward, both eternal, both necessary. Some believe this core might connect elsewhere. A doorway, perhaps, through which reality continues, emerging as something new, a white hole, a rebirth, another universe blooming from the ashes of collapse. Others disagree, calling it mere speculation. But even disagreement is a kind of faith, a belief that mystery still exists. Perhaps these falls do not end in silence, but in songs we have not yet learned to hear. For the falling Earth, this possibility lingers faintly, like a dream. The planet's atoms, long separated and reassembled by gravity, might someday scatter outward again in another form. Perhaps in some future cosmos, those same particles become the dust of a new star, the air of another world, the voice of a creature gazing at a night sky. In this way, the fall never truly ends, it simply begins again, unseen. Deep inside, the structure of space trembles with tension. Gravity grows so fierce that space-time itself ripples with energy. Some theorists imagine that, at this point, quantum effects dominate, tiny bursts of creation and annihilation filling the void. Perhaps the black hole's center isn't a point of death but a cradle for new beginnings, where reality itself renews in flashes of uncertainty. Even the laws of causality begin to falter. Cause and effect lose their sequence, outcomes may exist before their origins. The logic of linear time collapses into a spiral, and the distinction between future and past fades entirely. This is the horizon of understanding, where all scientific reasoning must yield to wonder. To imagine beyond this is to dream without boundaries, to think as the universe might think, in patterns rather than sentences. Somewhere within, entropy resets. What was once disorder transforms into potential again, cycling endlessly through forms. It is here that the arrow of time, always pointing forward, might curve back upon itself. Maybe black holes are the breath between cosmic exhalations, pauses where the universe regathers strength before expanding anew. In the hush of this fall, one can almost feel that inhalation, slow and eternal. The atoms that once formed oceans and mountains now exist as quanta of curvature, woven into the unseen depths of the gravitational core. Each carries within it the memory of motion, of heat, of life. They drift within a realm that knows neither distance nor decay. The black hole becomes not just a grave, but a garden, one where information takes root, invisible but alive in its own timeless soil. Outside, the universe moves on. Stars are born, galaxies collide, and time continues its grand unfolding. Yet deep within, the fall persists, untouched by the passing eons. The contrast is almost poetic. While the cosmos changes, the black hole remains constant, a stillness at the heart of movement, a silence that holds all sound. Perhaps every story of creation needs such a pause, a reminder that even chaos depends on quiet to exist. The boundaries between imagination and physics blur completely now. To speak of inside or outside is meaningless. What falls here is not matter but meaning itself, the content of existence rearranging into patterns too subtle to detect. In this, perhaps, lies the universe's greatest secret, that endings are merely translations, not deletions. The black hole does not consume, it translates reality into the language of forever. There may be light still, faint and red-shifted beyond recognition, curling around itself like memory. This light does not escape, but neither does it vanish. It hovers eternally near the horizon, stretched thin but persistent, like a last echo refusing to fade. In that glow lies the story of everything that entered, encoded across a surface that never forgets. The black hole, silent and immense, becomes a storyteller. And then, even story loses form. Words, ideas, and thoughts flatten into vibrations of existence. The fall ends not in impact but in absorption, complete merging with the structure of space-time. It is not death but integration, a return to the equation that made all things possible. The Earth's long journey, from birth to this quiet dissolution, finds peace at last in the stillness that birthed the stars. The last long fall ends not with a crash, but with a sigh. The theories fade, the math dissolves, the questions soften into quiet. What remains is simplicity, the pure, unbroken hum of being. The black hole does not destroy, it completes. Time, matter, and meaning converge into one endless note, resonating softly through eternity. And in that soundless song, perhaps, the universe remembers itself. 9. What distant friends would see after the finale. To those far away, watching from the safe reaches of space, the Earth would never truly vanish. Instead, it would seem to slow, to hover near the black hole's dark edge, caught in an eternal hesitation. Its colors would fade to deep crimson, the blue oceans dimming, the white clouds melting into a faint, ghostly red shimmer. To them, it would appear frozen, forever on the brink of falling, an image stretched by gravity's time into infinity, a quiet, haunting illusion of survival. Light itself becomes the storyteller now. Every photon that escapes carries the memory of what the Earth once was: oceans, mountains, laughter, lightning, all woven into fading wavelengths. But as these rays travel outward, they lengthen, their energy sapped by the pull they escaped. What once was vivid becomes whisper-soft, invisible to ordinary eyes. Far away, astronomers might only detect a faint glow, a signal that lingers like the last breath of a song long since ended. To them, it would seem as though Earth never quite crossed the threshold. Its image, trapped by time dilation, remains an eternal goodbye suspended in the fabric of space. Every second that passes for them marks millions for what has fallen. The planet's descent, in their view, is an endless slow-motion gesture, each frame a farewell held open forever. The laws of relativity transform catastrophe into stillness, grief into something oddly peaceful. Even with the best telescopes, no observer would witness the final fall. The event horizon hides all beyond itself, not through violence, but by simple geometry. Light cannot climb out, time cannot reach back. What remains visible is a memory, an after-image painted on space-time. To those who look, Earth becomes a red ember circling the dark, fading ever more slowly, never quite extinguishing, a ghost world on the edge of forever. Around the black hole, the gravitational lensing would distort everything. Stars behind it would warp into rings of light, glowing halos that mark the boundary of invisibility. The Earth's fading glow might smear across that ring, stretched into arcs and ribbons, blending with the distorted starlight. To a distant watcher, this would look like a cosmic halo, a crown of shimmering light holding within it the shadow of everything that once was home. Over time, even that faint glow would weaken. Radiation, stretched thin, would drift outward, losing coherence. To most of the universe, the black hole would look unchanged, a dark sphere of nothingness where light refuses to live. But hidden upon its surface, in the fine quantum texture of its event horizon, the information would remain. The Earth, every bit of it, written into that skin, preserved by the rules that say nothing is ever truly lost. Those who study such things, scientists and dreamers alike, would argue over its fate. Some would say Earth still exists inside, folded into a singularity beyond space and time. Others would insist it is now nothing more than code, etched into the black hole's holographic shell. Both might be right, in a way neither can imagine. Reality near such places is not a question of either or, it is both, and neither, at once. For any civilization watching from afar, perhaps hundreds of light-years away, the sight would come late. The light that left Earth before its fall would still travel for centuries, carrying images of its past, sunrises, radio songs, the glint of oceans. When they finally look toward the black hole, they would be watching not the end, but the middle of a story already finished. The cosmos delays goodbyes, stretching them into timeless echoes. Their instruments would pick up radio signals, faint, distorted, endlessly red-shifted. Perhaps they'd decode old transmissions, fragments of human voices, scientific data, digital laughter. To them, it would sound like ghosts calling from behind a veil, voices stretched thin but still recognizable. It would not be horror they'd feel, but melancholy, a sense that they were listening to the final heartbeat of a world that once thought and dreamed. The black hole, in time, might feed again. New stars may wander close, gas clouds spiral inward, reigniting the flow of energy. To a distant observer, the glow of accretion might flare bright, drowning out the memory of what came before. Yet hidden in that brilliance would be the faint, ancient data of every object ever swallowed, Earth among them, encoded in the trembling heat of the falling matter. The universe recycles even grief into light. Long after, when galaxies have drifted farther apart, when stars have cooled and cosmic expansion stretches light beyond visibility, that same black hole will still exist. It will outlive suns, planets, and civilizations. Yet it too will not last forever. Slowly, through Hawking radiation, it will leak energy, shrinking across eons. Its shadow will fade, atom by atom, until even the memory of darkness thins into silence. When it finally evaporates, all that it held will return. Not as form, not as matter, but as a whisper of information. The data written across its horizon of Earth, of stars, of time will scatter into the cosmic sea. The universe, patient and quiet, will remember everything. Perhaps, in some distant age, that pattern will rearrange itself, coalescing into new light, new worlds. Nothing truly dies, it merely transforms into possibility. To those who watched long ago, before they themselves were gone, the story ended much sooner. The light faded, the signals stopped, and the black hole settled into calm. They turned their telescopes elsewhere, chasing newer mysteries. But somewhere deep in their records, among the static and the noise, Earth remained a single fading signal, catalogued and preserved, proof that something beautiful once fell and vanished gracefully. The cosmos holds no funerals, no mourning songs, yet memory is built into its fabric. Every particle that once belonged to Earth still hums with its story, scattered across existence. Those who study these echoes may never know their origin, yet they will feel it, a faint resonance, a harmony of structure and gravity that hints at something ancient. The universe remembers not through emotion, but through persistence. Some future intelligence, millions of years hence, may find the traces. They may detect subtle distortions in the cosmic background, remnants of the Earth's final fall encoded in radiation. To them, it would be history, a clue that once, long ago, a living planet spiraled into the arms of a singularity. They may build theories, simulations, even poems to honor it, unaware that they themselves are built of the same atoms that once wept oceans and grew forests. The black hole becomes a monument, a silent gravestone that bends light instead of stone. Its gravity ensures that even as it hides, it shapes the universe around it. Stars dance differently because of it, nearby matter hums in its orbit. The memory of Earth's fall becomes part of that gravitational choreography, unseen but influential, a rhythm that continues long after the melody fades. The image of Earth on the event horizon, frozen forever, becomes a metaphor for time itself. For every being who looks at the night sky, there are countless worlds caught in that same pause, moments that never end because light cannot carry the news of their completion. In a sense, the universe is full of ghosts, all moving at once, all waiting for their stories to reach the rest of existence. Some might wonder if consciousness itself leaves a mark. Could awareness, thought, love, fear imprint upon the cosmic field? If so, then somewhere near that black hole's horizon, faint vibrations of feeling may still drift, unmeasurable but real. The emotions of an entire world, suspended in a place where time stopped, woven invisibly into the curvature of space. The last thoughts of humanity, carried as ripples through eternity. Eventually, all who once looked upon it are gone. Their worlds fade, their languages forgotten. Yet the image persists, Earth hovering at the edge, a red pearl balanced on darkness. Future beings, born from new stars, may find this image again, puzzled by its permanence. They will not see it as loss, but as art, gravity's own masterpiece, a frozen reflection of the universe's tender cruelty. For them, the black hole is not a grave, but a reminder. It shows how even in ending, beauty lingers. How light, though stretched to its limit, still tries to escape. How time, though warped beyond meaning, preserves the shape of what once was. The fall of Earth becomes a lesson in continuity, that nothing is wasted, not even the silence that follows. And so, the watchers, real or imagined, past or future, remain part of the same story. To observe is to participate, to remember is to give meaning to the fall. What distant friends would see after the finale is not just the Earth's end, but the persistence of wonder. Across light years, through the veil of time, the last image of home remains a red world suspended forever on the edge of eternity, still glowing softly, still refusing to disappear. 10. A calm perspective to close on. After all the falling, the stretching, the bending of time and light, what remains is a strange serenity. The story of Earth's descent is not one of terror but of transition, a movement from one form of existence to another. The universe does not mourn, it continues, steady and vast, letting even catastrophe dissolve into its balance. From afar, everything that happened looks peaceful, inevitable, almost gentle. The black hole does not rage, it simply holds, quietly completing the circle that began with creation. To see it this way is to accept that endings in the cosmos are not failures. They are returns, moments when energy and matter come home to the deeper laws that shaped them. Just as stars must one day collapse, and galaxies fade, so too must worlds find rest. The universe does not waste, it reuses. Every atom once part of oceans and breath will, in time, join the next great pattern, carried by forces beyond comprehension, yet perfectly consistent in their rhythm. This perspective softens the fear of loss. For even as Earth vanishes into the horizon, its essence remains in the universe's accounting. Gravity keeps no secrets, only transformations. The fall into the black hole is not disappearance but translation, matter becoming memory, light becoming geometry. From chaos comes structure, from collapse, clarity. The universe breathes in and out through such cycles, calm and infinite in its patience. The black hole, once seen as a destroyer, becomes instead a point of symmetry. Its existence confirms that even the universe needs places of rest, wells where energy pauses before finding new directions. It is not death that defines it, but stillness. And in that stillness, there is balance. Just as stars radiate, black holes absorb, both are essential to the equilibrium that makes existence possible. One gives, one gathers, and between them lies eternity. Far from the event horizon, life elsewhere continues. Suns rise, worlds orbit, beings gaze at stars with wonder. The fall of one planet, even one that bore life, does not disrupt the harmony of the whole. The universe absorbs the story without breaking rhythm, just as the ocean absorbs a raindrop. In this calm vastness, meaning persists not through permanence, but through connection, each end woven into another's beginning. Perhaps the greatest comfort lies in realizing that nothing is truly wasted. The atoms that formed mountains and skin, clouds and eyes, will one day serve again, perhaps in the birth of a new star, or the soil of another world. The energy bound within Earth's fall becomes part of a grander equation, feeding the motion of galaxies. Even as we vanish, we participate in the continuation of everything. From a cosmic viewpoint, time is only a river, and we are waves upon it. The fall of Earth is a momentary ripple, one of countless others. The black hole is not the river's end, merely a bend so deep that we cannot see beyond it. Yet the water flows still, unseen but unbroken. What we call endings are simply thresholds through which the universe renews its quiet symphony. Looking at it this way, the universe feels less hostile, more compassionate in its design. Its laws may be indifferent, but they are fair, and in their consistency lies comfort. The same gravity that pulls worlds apart also holds them together, the same time that leads to decay also allows growth. The black hole, dark and patient, reminds us that balance exists even where light cannot go. A calm perspective accepts that awe and fear can coexist. The black hole is both mystery and resolution, terrifying in scale, yet soothing in its certainty. It represents the promise that nothing truly escapes the cycle of being. Even as matter folds inward, the information remains, carried in whispers across the event horizon, echoing into the future. The universe forgets nothing, it simply changes how it remembers. To those who still gaze upward, there is no need to despair. The stars remain, the galaxies spin, the cosmic web hums with quiet life. The black hole's pull does not undo the beauty that came before, it simply reframes it. Every atom, every photon, every dream remains somewhere in the grand design. The calm lies in knowing that the story does not stop, it just moves to a chapter we can't yet read. From such distance, the fall of Earth would appear poetic. Its red shimmer, frozen on the event horizon, would glow faintly for eternity, a soft candle on the edge of oblivion. To those who understand the physics, that glow is not death's mark but a record of persistence. Even trapped light continues to exist, endlessly stretched, endlessly patient. The black hole's silence is not emptiness, it is full of memory. The passage of time makes peace inevitable. What once frightened becomes familiar, what once was tragic becomes natural. Stars have been born and devoured since before memory, and they will continue long after. The universe itself is calm because it has seen everything before, every rise, every fall, every return. In its endless expanse, there is no tragedy, only transformation. If we could hear the universe, it might not speak in words, but in vibrations of calm acceptance. The hum of radiation, the rhythm of rotation, the pulse of expansion all say the same thing: everything changes, and everything continues. Even black holes, the deepest of mysteries, are part of that hum. They too will fade, radiating softly into the long night, giving back what they once held. Humanity's brief spark within this vast cycle is no less meaningful for its brevity. We existed long enough to understand, to name, to love, to look upward and wonder. That act alone, the reaching of consciousness toward comprehension, makes our story part of the universe's memory. Whether our atoms fall into stars or singularities, our curiosity becomes our echo, carried forever in the patterns we leave behind. A calm perspective invites humility. We are not the center, but participants in a dance that began before us and will continue after. To see our worlds fall not as loss but as contribution is to align with the rhythm of creation itself. The black hole's gravity is not punishment, it is the universe's way of gathering what has served its purpose, to recycle it into something new and unimagined. The same forces that end worlds also create them. Gravity once drew the dust of the early cosmos together, kindling stars, sculpting planets. Now it gathers once more, folding the old into potential for the new. The cycle remains unbroken. The fall of Earth is a return to the source, a rejoining of what it once emerged from. To see that clearly is to find peace even in endings. This understanding gives rest to the restless mind. Fear fades when one sees the larger order. Death, collapse, dissolution all are illusions when viewed from eternity's height. The atoms of our bodies, the energy of our thoughts, will all continue to play their part. The black hole's quiet pull is not a thief, but a keeper, a guardian of transformation, ensuring that nothing is ever truly gone. To dream of this, lying beneath a night sky, is to feel part of something greater. Each star, each darkness between them, is a note in the same endless composition. The calm perspective teaches that even silence has purpose. The black hole's darkness is not absence, it is the rest between movements, the pause that gives meaning to the light that comes before and after. When all is viewed in balance, the fall of Earth becomes a chapter in the autobiography of the cosmos. There were beginnings, dust forming worlds, oceans finding life, thought awakening to awareness. There were middles, civilizations, art, science, connection. And there was an end that was not an end at all, but a folding back into the whole. The universe is both author and audience, forever writing, forever reading. The calm is not cold, it is compassionate in its constancy. The same physics that writes the orbits of moons also cradles the fall of worlds. Everything that happens is part of one great coherence, a harmony so vast that no loss can ever outweigh the unity beneath it. The black hole's song, silent to our ears, is that of continuity, an eternal note sung softly through space-time. And so, the story closes quietly. The Earth, once bright with life and movement, rests now as energy and memory within the deep current of existence. There is no destruction, only return, no sorrow, only stillness. The cosmos, vast and calm, carries on unchanged, yet full of every story it has ever told. The final truth is simple and peaceful: nothing is lost, only transformed, and all that was beautiful remains forever part of the infinite calm.